All righty.
All right, I'd like to go and open up the Tuesday, February 6, 2024 Board of Alderman meeting. If you would, please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item would be the consent agenda items.
We have the regular meeting minutes from January 16th, 2024.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, seconded by Alderman Crump. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Roemaker?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next will be public comments. If you'd like to address the board with any issues or talk to us about anything, please come forward, come to the podium, speak your name, and then we'll give you 5 minutes to talk about the subject of your choosing. Not seeing anybody, we'll move on to the Board of Alderman comments.
Nope.
Not seeing anybody, we'll move on to the presentation of audit reports.
Good evening. Thanks for moving me up to the front. My name's Alan Schulte. I was in charge of the audit again this year. Kind of pretty standard, as you know, same as usual. Issued an unmodified or clean opinion, means the financial statements were fairly stated in accordance with GAAP. You guys do prepare a CAFR, well, we don't call it CAFR anymore, an annual financial comprehensive statement, whatever. They changed the name a couple years ago. So what that means is you guys get a little bit more to your statement. There's a back section that has statistics and some more just non-audited information, but useful information to the board and the citizens. There's a 10-year worth of information for the financial information. One of the drawbacks of governmental financial statements is it's just a single year presentation. So by doing the additional GFOA statement, you get some more information that's kind of useful. Kind of just going through the financial statements. The first section is the transmittal letter, kind of gives you some information about what's going on in the city. The next section, the management discussion and analysis, that is one place where you get a little bit of comparison between last year and this year, mostly on a government-wide basis. So if you remember from prior years, government-wide is where we have fixed assets and we have debt and we have the asset or liability relating to the pension, some of the more long-term assets and liabilities where in the fund statements, that's a more near-term view. So fixed assets are expensed and principal payments are expensed, and it operates more like your checkbook would. So closer to like a cash basis, and it doesn't have depreciation and some of those long-term things in it. So on page 6 and 7, there's some kind of high-level comparisons between current year and prior year. There really was no significant change in current assets this year compared to last year. Capital assets increased because you added more assets than what depreciation was. Pretty much that simple. Long-term liabilities decreased about $3.6 million, and that was all due to paying down debt. So you had the loan for the interchange. You paid down almost $3 million in principal on that loan with the state. There's probably 2 or 3 more years left on that, and it looks like that one's going to be paid off. You also paid $425,000 on the TIF debt. Okay. Unrestricted net position, you can see that's a negative number like last year. Now the reason that's negative is 2 reasons. The TIF debt, so when you issue debt and don't have an asset to offset it, then it ends up making your net position negative. So you issued that debt, and then that was a payment to the developer, so you didn't have a corresponding asset. And the same way with the interchange. You issued the debt, you constructed the debt, but the state is responsible for maintenance, so it's really not the city's asset. So the debt on those two things are about $10.5 million, which is about what your negative number is there. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. And all that. Okay, so on the top of page 7, oh wait, I think I skipped something. Oh, interchange fund collects about $2 million in taxes, and the TIF fund collect about $700,000. So kind of like I said, if those continue the same, then you'll be having those paid off pretty quickly. Next page, 7, water and sewer fund. Cash was down about $2 million just because the city had some significant projects going on that you were paying for, and you issued debt in the prior year, so you're kind of spending those proceeds in the current year. And then you can see there's kind of a similar increase in capital assets then. And you also paid down about $755,000 in debt in the water and sewer fund. Top on page 8, revenue and expense comparison for the governmental funds. So this doesn't include water and sewer. Grants and contributions were up this year, and that was mostly because there were dedicated streets and sidewalks. So when a subdivision dedicates those over to the city, it's revenue, and then adds to assets, and then gets depreciated out. So that was the increase there. The rest of the revenue line items were pretty consistent with the prior year. Total expenses were down about $5.5 million compared to last year, but that was because last year had that payment to the developer for the TIF. So you issued the bonds, it came in as like a revenue type item, and then it gets paid out. If you remove that payment, then expenses were up about 5.8%. So pretty much what you'd expect based on how inflation's been and things like that. And then there was also the increase in admin expense was due to the increase in the trash service contract that hit in '23. Page 9, that's water and sewer. Water and sewer rates were up about 4% for the fiscal year, but the revenue was pretty much flat, so just a decrease in consumption for that period. Expenses were up about 10%, and that was mostly due to an increase in depreciation just from all the additions you guys have been making, and then you guys did a study, an engineering study too, and that was in fiscal '23. All right, any questions about any of that? All right, jump ahead to page 19. One thing I usually talk about a little bit is the fund balance in the general fund. The fund balance in the general fund decreased about $800,000 before transfers. When you look at the fund balance in relation to expenses, you have about 90 days of expenses, so about 3 months. So that's getting a little lean. But some of that is because you guys moved out the transportation fund. I'm sure you guys remember talking about that. So now some of those expenses will be in that fund and won't be in the general fund. So kind of the expectation is now that that'll grow back up now that the transportation is handling some of that. Expenditures in the general fund, excluding capital outlays, were up about 10% compared to last year. Interchange fund is kind of a big fund, but that's pretty much just collecting taxes and paying that debt. So then the other thing I always talk about is the pension. You guys joined loggers back in 2015. So on page 50, there's some annual data for the pension. Eventually that'll show you 10 years worth of information. So the top half of that schedule shows you what the estimated liability is. So the actuaries guess as to what the benefits earned are at this point in time. So that's $3.6 million. Then the next section is the amount of money you contributed to pay those benefits. That's about $2.5 million. So then the net difference, the net pension liability, is about $1.1 million, up from $900,000 in the prior year. Now, a lot of that change is due to change in investments. So this number will fluctuate quite a bit, and over the last 5 or 6 years, investments have been all over the place. Kind of historically, you can see you guys are at about a $1.2 million net pension liability. I think you'll probably start seeing that go down because the next valuation will have the good of 23 in it. So I would expect it to flip pretty hard the other way and be back probably below that $900,000 that it was last year. Okay. So, and they factor, since you guys are pretty new to loggers, they kind of factor that into the contribution. So, you know that it's going to take some time to get to that like 80-90% funded. That's kind of the goal. And honestly, loggers does a really great job. Almost every city that I go to, their loggers is 100% funded. So they will get you there, I believe. They do a really good job of managing the investments. And like some of the standalone pensions that I've seen over the last year or two, a lot of those are at like 70, 75, and almost, like I said, all the long-term loggers people are at 100. So they do a good job of keeping you where you need to be. Any questions about that? Okay. The next page shows what your contributions are versus what the actuary recommends they should be, and you can see they're pretty much the same every year. Your contribution rate is that last column. It's kind of like the average. That police have a different rate than everybody else just because of risk and things like that, and their ability to retire a little earlier and things. But so this is kind of an average. I think it's about 7%, right? Yeah, 6.9. Yeah. So, and it's been pretty consistent over the last few years. Any questions about that? Any questions about financial statements at all? Okay, management report, pretty much boilerplate stuff. Financial statements are management's responsibility. We're just issuing an opinion on what you guys give us. Financial statements include estimates, so depreciation, the pension, things like that are the bigger ones. We didn't make any material audit adjustments while we were here, so you can feel pretty good about the numbers you're getting on a monthly basis. There's also a few graphs attached to it. First one, general fund revenues. And that one's going to look a little different compared to the last few years because now it doesn't have that transportation fund in it. That's pulled out. Miscellaneous income last year included the Highway 47 grant, so that's why that was so much bigger last year. Second one is general fund expenditures. And that one, street expenses have moved with the transportation fund, so that's pulled out of the general fund now. So that's going to be the big difference between this year and previous years. And then the last one, water and sewer. You can kind of just see that consistent increase in revenue, consistent increase in expenses. Nothing's really jumping out of trend there, so seems to be working as expected. Any questions about any of that? That's pretty much all I had.
I have a question. Everything that you observed in the making up this statement, anything that stands out to you or a red flag that...
No, the city does a good job of taking internal controls really seriously. You have enough staff that you can segregate processes So there's that check and balance. And just the attitude is really good. And usually that's a really good sign that things will be good. When we do the audit, everything's moving to this real risk-based approach. So it used to be we'd come in and we'd look at all the balance sheet accounts and tie all that out and say, okay, the balance sheet works, income and expense has to be at least to the net correct. And to some degree, we still kind of do that, but now everything is really pushing to, well, what area is risky, right? So, you know, you don't spend as much time on prepaid expenses because there's not a lot of risk for misstatement there if your processes are in place. Now, if you go, like sometimes we go to places where staff has no idea what they're doing, and then every area is kind of risky because it's not a intentional misstatement. It's more a just error, you know? And so, I guess long story to a point. We can tell that, you know, when we talk to staff and, you know, you guys take this all seriously too, that, you know, everybody knows that the expectation is that this stuff should be correct. So it lowers our assessed risk is what we call it. So, so yes, we feel like everything that you guys do is where it should be.
I know we made a concentrated effort to pay down debt the last
Yeah, I mean,
couple
you know,
years.
yeah, I mean, fortunately, you know, the two big projects, the interchange and the TIF, have worked out as expected and are, you know, I think, I mean, I don't know what the projected payback was on the interchange, but surely it wasn't 5 or 6 years, you know, like it's been incredible.
Thank you.
So for a city our size, are we kind of the norm that you see?
You know, it's really hard to compare places because everybody's so different. Is, you know, some places have much heavier property tax and lighter sales tax, and, you know, I don't have anybody else taking on an interchange or anything like that. You know, but I mean, you definitely have the revenue streams to provide the services that you're providing. You know, a lot of times what I'll tell places, especially if they're starting to run kind of lean, is, you know, it kind of comes down to one or two decisions. Do we want to have revenue here and provide services to that, or do we want to pick the service level and figure out how we get revenue to that? So, I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to. So when you're making your decision, it's, okay, do we feel like this is an important service that we need to figure out how to pay for, or is this all we want to really ask for from our citizens and provide as much service as we can up to that level, if that makes sense.
You know, we talked about growth in Warrenton, and I've always believed that on the interstate highway, you either grow as a city or you die. And I think we have made a concentrated effort to get the infrastructure built before the growth comes, so we'll be ready for it. And it takes a lot of money and a lot of planning to get that infrastructure ahead of the game. And I think we've done a good job. Our staff does a great job of coming together as a team to get that done.
What's your thoughts on us moving from a fiscal year to a calendar year? Make you happy? It does.
I tried really hard to talk Dana out of it. Maybe a little bit just for selfish reasons for myself. You know, the next, 6 months are really busy for us, so squeezing another audit in there is a little tougher. And the transition is just, especially with a software conversion, like, I don't know that I'd wish a software conversion on my worst enemy. But
Gary said, we've got a great staff.
yeah. I mean, I get some of the reasoning behind it. You know, I think a lot of it was, you know, like Parks and Rec seemed hard to plan for because you're kind of cutting off in the middle of the busy time and things like that. It doesn't really matter one way or another. You know, you see a fair number of Junes, you see more December. You know, it doesn't really make a big difference.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So will
Anything
there be
else?
another audit in December then?
Yes, we will be back in a month to start the next one. And we're going to, and I haven't done it this way before, but so this was for July through June 23. So now we're going to audit January through December 23. So we're hoping to get a little bit of economies from having to like re-audit the beginning. The only thing is we're going to have to audit beginning balance sheet. So I think that's going to offset some of the time we're going to save by having done some of the other stuff. So, but yes, I will probably see you again in 6 months.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I got a question for Brandy. This is available to the public online, correct?
It
This report.
is available. I don't know that we put this all online, do we, Dana?
We certainly can.
Yeah, I think it needs to be transparent and shown.
Want to read
We
all
will.
this and
I know it's hard to believe, but there are people that enjoy reading this.
I haven't met him
No
yet.
offense, anybody who really enjoys reading it.
I'm
So
sure
there's a
I'm
lot
sure
of
you love
times.
doing it, but
Yeah, there's a lot of times I feel like I'm the last person on earth that has looked at one of these statements because it just
Yeah, you're like, I do enough.
Nobody
I don't
cares.
want to read it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
You want me to do the acceptance before we talk about lady in the room? Do you want to talk about Dana now, or do you want to wait till we do the
Oh, you can
one?
do it now if you want.
Come up, Dana. So I understand this is your last board meeting.
It is, yes.
Why is she smiling?
Are we okay with that? Are we gonna-
She's wearing a mask.
She sounded a little too giddy about that, but, well, we appreciate everything you've done for us. You really are kind of the quiet, behind-the-scenes force that drives a lot of the financials that we've been able to do and the things that we've been able to claim. And I know I, for one, appreciate it. I'm sure everybody else does. But it's kind of our opportunity to say thank you for all the years you've helped us. So I really do appreciate it. I mean that with all sincerity. You've been hard when you need to be hard and let us know we can't do certain things even though we really want to do it, and you've done it professionally, and I really appreciate that. But I know I wanted to say goodbye and thank you, and good luck in your retirement. Enjoy it.
Yeah, have fun.
Hey,
you.
Mayor.
It's been a pleasure.
Mayor,
again,
can we give her?
Oh, yeah. By all means.
Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the audit results as presented.
so moved.
Second.
Motion made by McCullum, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Romaker?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next, we'll hear from City Administrator Brandy Walters.
Good evening. The first thing that I have for you tonight is a small code change with changing from our other fiscal year to a calendar year that we missed this slight change in our false alarms. So our false alarms are billed out progressively throughout the year, and they go by your fiscal year. So this is just changing it from being billed out through July, starting in July, and
Changing it to
changing it to January.
Good
And there is
catch.
a bill.
That is a little hard, so that's a good catch. I'll entertain, any questions on that?
No.
I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 04-24.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Rollmaker.
An ordinance amending section 200.060 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton regarding false alarm service charge.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 04-24.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance amending section 200.060 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton regarding false alarm service charge.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Quarter.
Yes.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Romaker.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0.
The next thing I have for you is another slight code change that is for solid waste storage and services. We currently allow multifamilies to have totes, and they don't all have to do dumpsters, and we've been doing that for quite some time. So this is just making a change to what our current practice is and allowing that.
Any questions on that?
Say it, okay, say it again. I'm sorry, Randy.
So we allow multifamily, so your apartments, duplexes, those types of places to have totes. They don't all have to have dumpsters. And that's how our current practice is. However, our code states that they all have to have dumpsters. So that's just eliminating that we can allow totes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any questions on that?
I have a question about the ordinance, not specifically about the, as I read it, I saw there's a senior citizen discount. Is that automatically applied, or does one have to apply for that?
I believe they have to apply for that.
Okay.
Just make a call at City Hall.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that discount.
Were you aware of that? Yes, actually it was. I never took advantage of it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't referencing anything. I know that's what you're looking
No, you
at.
looked at me like I'm old.
Any other questions on the ordinance? All right, I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 05-24.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance amending section 240.020 titled Solid Waste Storage and Service of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 05-24.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, second by Alderman Miller.
An ordinance amending section 240.020 titled Solid Waste Storage and Service of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Quarter.
Yes.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Romaker.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0.
I have the Tourism Commission. They had met on January 23rd, and they are recommending approval to pay for Dairy Queen's interstate attraction signs of $600 and the miscellaneous transfer, which covers Cookies with Santa, Fall Festival, that type of stuff, in the amount of $134,241.97. And these are both budgeted items for
Say that amount again.
the total is $134,841.97.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay. I know it was brought up in a separate conversation. Is there any way we can show or at least share an itemized thing of what that breakdown is in case someone asks? Okay.
Yeah, we got it on here.
Yeah, it's on there.
But I mean, share it. If a public asks, we can share it.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
That's all I want to make sure that it's provided if someone asks.
Okay.
It's online.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the tourism recommendations in the amount of $134,841.97.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Romaker, seconded by Alderman Quarter. Roll call vote.
Alderman Cullum.
Yes.
Alderman Romaker.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Alderman Quarter.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brittany.
Next, we'll hear from Megan.
Welder.
Well, can you give me a minute to say it? I was looking at her. Megan Welder, our finance officer.
Good evening, Mayor and Board.
I know, everybody,
Can't hardly wait.
I screwed up once or maybe even twice. Now everybody's like, let me answer for you.
No, I was just saying more finances. I'm sure you're
Oh, no, I'm
involved
ready
with that.
for it. We're ready. Get your coffee.
All right, you guys have the December preliminary financial statements in front of you. A few things to note about December. A lot of timing things, and there'll be some entries that we'll clean up here at the audit. So sales tax revenue in the general fund is $72,000 above budget, and for the transportation fund, we're $40,000 above budget. Again, the miscellaneous revenue is due to the IDA land sale. Transportation is $133,000 above the budget due to the MoDOT's portion of Highway 47 sidewalk project was expected to come in the prior year and came in 23. Charges for services, $71,000 under budget due to water sales, $34,000 below expected, and sewer, $43,000 below expected. Expenses, the administrative budget, or the administrative total is a timing issue due to the auditor bill not being booked yet. We'll be getting that here shortly and booking that back. Police expenses, $123,000 below budget, mainly due to the wages and benefits for the vacant positions throughout the year. Water, $28,000 under budget due to pump repair and meter under, while electric and insurance and chemicals were over. Lastly, the sewer treatment plant total, insurance, electric, and pump repair make up the $56,000 over budget. Do y'all have any questions for me this evening?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're from Aquatics Director, Lisa Kramer.
Good evening. You have my aquatics report in front of you. Few highlights for the month of January. We had 1,879 people come through the doors. This is 169 people less than last year, and I believe it's due to the fact that we were closed for 7 days in January due to that lovely ice and cold storms that we had. We did get 29 new memberships, renewed 23 memberships, and registered 13 insurance memberships during January, which is 32 more memberships this year than last year for January. We had 101 people sign up for swim lessons this session, and we had 159 people at the Daddy-Daughter Dance this past Saturday. A few upcoming programs. Tomorrow is our Valentine's Day Tadpole Tales. This is our Valentine's Day themed story time, snack, and swimming. It starts at 10 o'clock. This Sunday, the pool will be open from 12 to 3, so everybody can go home and enjoy the Super Bowl game. And March 2nd is Dr. Seuss Day, so we're going to be celebrating Dr. Seuss from 12 to 3. And that evening is our Splash and Pajama Party from 6:30 to 10, and it will also have a Dr. Seuss theme as well. And that's from 6:30 to 10. Any questions?
Any questions, guys?
No. Good.
No.
Thank you.
I believe so. Thank you.
All right.
I will say one thing. I did see several of the daddy-daughter folks around town taking their daughters to Dairy Queen. Actually, I was there eating ice cream myself, and it was great. It said they had a fantastic time, and it was a great turnout, so just want to pass that along.
Great to know. Thank you.
I did get some compliments as well. Sounds like it's growing every time you do it, too.
It has grown exponentially. So this year was our first year that we had it over at the Mary Lou Center. So we were able to do it in one time slot, and we were sold out with a waiting list of probably 30 more dads and daughters, but there just wasn't enough room.
Yeah, that's something to be bragged about.
And I did hear from one of the fathers that the length of time was perfect.
Yes. 2 hours, I think, is a good time for dads to be with their daughters dancing.
He did say he attended one that was almost 3.5 hours, and he said that was just a little long. But yours was perfect. It was
Great.
Fantastic. So
Good to know.
good.
Thank you. Next, we're from Grounds and Maintenance Director, Justin Knoll.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You have my report for January. Of course, we had quite a few days of ice and snow to battle there at the beginning of the month. We did have some time to use our new stump grinder. We removed 22 stumps from Binkley Woods, with a lot more to go between that park and several others. Crews have been working pretty hard cleaning up trash along the highways, North 47 sidewalk, Hickory Lake, some of our other road easements and stuff. They almost filled up 2 entire dumpsters. That's been quite the task for them. We had a couple streetlight repairs. We've been working on the cable petitions there at the Sports Complex and working towards just spring stuff out there for the spring season coming up. Pretty busy.
Someone asked, how far along are the fields? Did they lay down the turf yet?
Yeah, the turf company's working on their third install of the field. I believe they still got to come back and do their sand and rubber fill coats on the other two, but they're definitely moving along, and with the weather these last couple weeks, it's been a big help.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Justin.
Next, we're Public Works Director, Guy Jeaners.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. The only thing I have is an ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between S&A Equipment for the old US 40 sidewalk that's from Market Street to Rural King. There's a ordinance for that. That's what I'm here for.
Any questions on that? No. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 03-24.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by McCollum, second by McCorder.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between S&A Equipment and the City of Warrenton for the old US 40 Sidewalk Extension Project, TAP-9900393 and TAP-9900399.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 03-24.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Crump, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between S&A Equipment and the City of Warrenton for the old US 40 Sidewalk Extension Project, TAP-9900393 and TAP-9900399.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Romaker?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Porter?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0. Anything else, guys?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Alderman meeting and go into executive session for real estate.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by McCollum. Who was the second? Schultz. Alderman, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Porter?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Romaker?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We are so adjourned.